the Biden administration's Disinformation Board, which was recently created under the Department of Homeland Security, has been scrapped after facing criticism from the right and then having no idea how to deal with that criticism. The right focused on one of the members of the board, Nina Jankowicz, a 33-year-old author and advocate who's written books like How to Be a Woman Online, How to Lose the Information War, and worked at nonpartisan think tanks and nonprofits focusing on strengthening democratic institutions. So this is more from Taylor Lorenz in the Washington Post, writing about how quickly this board folded. So 3 weeks after its announcement, the Disinformation Governance Board is being paused, according to multiple employees at DHS, capping a back and forth week of decisions that changed during the course of the reporting of the story. On Monday, DHS decided to shut down the board, according to multiple people with knowledge of it. Now, what was it supposed to do? Basically, gather information about how misinformation spreads, try to combat it. They claimed everything from Russia's war on Ukraine misinformation to even misinformation about that migrants south of the border get about when it is safe to cross, which they claim led to the Haitian refugee crisis. I would say it's your fucked up policies. But whatever, tomato, tomato. The board was supposed to study the best practices in combating harmful effects of disinformation and to help DHS counter viral lies and propaganda that could threaten domestic security. Unlike the Ministry of Truth in George Orwell's 1984 that became a derogatory comparison point, neither the board nor Jankowicz had any power or any ability to declare what is true or false, or compel internet providers, social media platforms, or public schools to take action against certain types of speech. In fact, the board itself had no power or authority to make any operational decisions. So it was just kind of toothless. Mm-hmm. Now, Nina, the woman they hired to basically be one of the main people on it, was subjected to unjustified and vile personal attacks and threats. This is according to a DHS spokesperson. In congressional hearings and in media interviews, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, has repeatedly defended her as eminently qualified and underscored the importance of the department's disinformation work, and he will continue to do so. So more on her harassment. 70% of Fox News 1-hour segments after the week of that it was announced the board was even being created, 70% of those segments mention Jankowicz or the board, with correspondents frequently deriding the board as the Ministry of Truth. The Fox News coverage was referenced in some of the most popular posts on Facebook and Twitter criticizing Jankowicz. And finally, basically, those who are familiar with how the board worked, including DHS employees and Capitol Hill staffers, along with experts on disinformation, say Jankowicz was set up to fail by an administration that was unsure of its messaging and unprepared to counteract a coordinated online campaign against her. And even DHS staffers are basically saying, I've never seen the department react like this before. This reaction is mind-boggling. Them folding the board 3 weeks after they announced it. CNN Plus didn't last that long either. What was it, 3 weeks? It was exactly I think maybe they both lasted 3 weeks. But Atsuko, what are your thoughts on that? You have it. First of all, is Disinformation Board, was that the wrong name to use? Does that strike fear into your heart?
I don't think so. I mean, because it's got, for me, I only have a vocabulary of 300 words. So I appreciate it when it's I know what information means. Disinformation means not that. I appreciate simplicity. And so right. I never see it as an attack, as someone trying to talk to me at my level,
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so you're I would have preferred the Ministry of Truth, because that's even more direct. Although ministry, no idea what that is.
That's true.
Sounds
Ministry
religious.
of Truth is pretty direct too. Yeah, maybe disinformation is a little confusing. You're right. I got confused as to what I was saying because
no. I think the board. The problem for me was maybe the word board sounded too official versus committee or working group. There's a billion working groups in the White House, and underneath all these federal agencies. And you're like, just call it a fucking working group. You know what I mean? Because like,
Yeah.
if they didn't have any power to do anything at all, what, just don't make it sound a little scarier than it was. But that being said, once you have announced it, don't fucking back out of it. It
Mhm.
is such an example of how the right wins time and time again, especially
Mhm.
when you have, I'm sorry, but kind of like weak centrists like Joe Biden and that
Mhm.
administration be like, no, man, own it. Like, that's so dope that you hired a 33-year-old woman who's like an expert in this field.
Mhm.
Fucking stand by it. Stand by her. And it's great.
It
Instead,
is.
they
It
were
is.
like,
Yeah.
no, the online trolls.
It is pretty losery to have set up something that wasn't going to do anything anyway, get shut down in 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of like, man, no, I wish I would have cheated. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it's
I
like,
didn't.
yeah, nothing like, even though I wasn't going to, well, my whole thing was I wasn't going to cheat. Oh, shoot. I'm confused.
And now you
Anyway,
broke up with me. Oh,
now all
like,
you have are the shitty things people said about you to continue on with your life with.
right. And it is also like, I feel like it's also and I'm sure Nina Jankowicz understands this more than anyone. It is a failure to understand what is truly like the disgusting underbelly of the internet for what it truly is. And like her not being protected or minimally insulated from that, I think
Mhm.
was also an oversight.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're like, you knew that this, as soon as they figured out it was a 33-year-old woman who wrote a book called How to Be a Woman Online, forget it.
Yeah,
Over.
they were so ready to eat her alive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wanted to just play this one little clip. This is Peter Ducey, who is notoriously an idiot, but actually asking a fairly relevant question of Katrine Pierre. I can't remember her full last name, but the new press secretary, Biden's press secretary.
A follow-up to the Disinformation Board. Last week, you guys said that you needed this Disinformation Governance Board at DHS to make sure that freedom of speech is protected across the country and that these platforms are not used for forms of disinformation. So what changed?
Look, the Department of Homeland Security, they began their statement repeating that the board had been intentionally mischaracterized, which is a little bit of what you were asking me, and they were explicit about what it does and does not do. It was never about censorship, policing speech, or removing content from anywhere. Its function was to keep Homeland Security officials aware of how bad actors, including human smugglers, transnational criminal organization, and foreign adversaries could use disinformation to advance their goals. As Secretary Marcos said, he has asked former DHS Secretary Michael Chernoff and former DAG Jamie Gorelick to lead a thorough review. This is the pause that I was talking about, an assessment as members of the bipartisan Homeland Security Council Advisory Council. The board will not convene during that period, but the departments work across several administrations to address disinformation that threatens the security for our country is critical and will continue. So that work is going to continue.
So if it's pausing because you think the board was mischaracterized, then the Disinformation Board is being shut down because of disinformation? Is that what's happening here?
Look, I mean, the board was put.
All right, I'm going to end there, but yes, it is pausing because of disinformation. The Disinformation Board got
Mhm.
disinformationized.
Dang, we're such losers. Just put an L, tattoo an L on our foreheads. We're losers.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do